Hello, everyone. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We are here at theCUBE's New York Stock Exchange studio for our AI Factory series, where we feature the leaders who are making it happen in AI as compute, XPUs, and the entire large-scale infrastructure is completely building out to support the future of AI, generative AI, agentic, and soon AI, physical AI happening. The leaders of NVIDIA and many more, Dell Technologies, are continuing to invest in what is a computing paradigm shift. And we're talking to all the leaders. We've got a great one here. Andrew Sobko is the CEO and founder of a company called Argentum AI, an innovative opportunity to democratize compute and scale it up. Andrew, thanks for coming on theCUBE. You're in the building. Peter Tuchman brought you in. Hat tip to Peter.
Thank you for having me on. Thanks for having me.
So, I put your deal together like in a nanosecond because we've been covering it. You're doing something very, very innovative. You've done it before, another venture you started. You're essentially democratizing compute by aggregating GPU cycles and compute cycles and offering it in the marketplace. So if I'm just a developer or a company, I can just tap into the resource. This is not new for you. So explain what you guys are doing and how you got here.
Look, yeah, exactly. So number one, I'm personally a big believer in marketplace businesses and kind of like leveraging asset-heavy industries and kind of building great technology on top of it that is enterprise level ready. So my playbook historically was always, how can you consolidate tons of like capacity globally? Let's say, talk about GPU entrepreneurs or think about Bitcoin miners globally. How can you convert all of those Bitcoin miners and also leverage all of the new data centers that are getting built out? Put this all together, package this into one space, one spot where people believe and trust and have full confidence in, can go and get access to compute seamlessly, accessibly, affordably, and number one, it's available today. So that was always like my playbook. And we've been deeply thinking around how can we incentivize more, I call it kind of GPU entrepreneurs, kind of trying to create this new economy of GPU entrepreneurs. What can we do? What can we help them? How can we help them to kind of build this kind of huge network globally? And the best way to think about it, we can partner up with hundreds, and we already partnered up with tens of institutional-based data centers, or I call it also GPU operators, and we'll keep partnering up with them globally. But then, instead of us, again, building hundreds of data centers globally, we can partner up with all of them, have one standard, one benchmark for pricing, one website where they can go, get access to compute, similarly to what Uber app is offering based on stability, latency, what kind of GPUs you want, and get access to it.
So you basically create a service layer that's simple, easy, not cryptic pricing. You actually have software that kind of makes that happen so that people can just get the compute. I love the idea, and first of all, I love marketplaces, Amazon Marketplace, Google Cloud. The cloud has shown the marketplace playbook, no doubt about it. And you've done this before in your other business, in trucking. And the CapEx spend is also a tailwind for you because there's a race for those GPUs. So I love that. But I love this also concept that you mentioned, GPU entrepreneur. I think that's important. I want to do a drill down on that because we've been talking about here on theCUBE on AI Factories and other shows that there's an AI native wave. It's not just entrepreneurs, it's entrepreneurial thinking. So if I work for a big bank, I'm technically not starting a company, but I'm starting a new platform system architecture in, say, the bank. The old way was IT. That's antiquated, maybe abstract over that. But I want to take advantage of that, and I'm an enterprise. I don't have CapEx money. I don't have billions to compete with the hyperscalers or the neo clouds. So what am I going to do? So this seems like a good fit. Did I get that right, or expand on that? Because I think this is might open up a massive developer surge.
Sure.
Both on premises and native entrepreneurs building native apps.
Yeah, so think about it on one side. When we kick this off, we want to make sure that we have very stable service. We're focusing on stability and latency. Think about us partnering up with tens of core reefs, a little bit smaller core reefs of the world.
Yeah. Nebius core
build out Nebius core reefs. They might maybe convince NVIDIA to get some latest GPUs, might have GPUs coming available very soon, but they were not able to secure a customer quick enough. In many cases, we're also seeing, again, monetization of some idle GPUs. We'll talk about it later on. But my big picture, and kind of like global scale, looking at this global scale, how can you build this marketplace and this kind of AI infrastructure of this, and you have this kind of economy of these GPU entrepreneurs works at scale globally? And we deeply been thinking around the incentive. It's all around incentives. How can you incentivize people? Remember when Bitcoin mining started back, I don't know, 8, 10 years ago, it was incredibly hot space. A lot of people put tons of money into it. And you call it professional retail. Some people I saw had 10 GPUs in their house, and they were doing Bitcoin mining, and some people built a tiny mini data center, maybe in their garage. Or maybe it's more institutional likes. So our job was, how do we convince all of those Bitcoin miners that understand the space pretty well to turn into AI mining, or I call it compute mining. And instead of just paying them whatever hourly price, GPU per hour, we're like thinking, what else can we do for them? How can we incentivize them more, maybe to get access to cheaper GPUs, right? We'll talk about it, the second life GPUs and the third life GPUs, which is a major separate problem on its own. How can we give them access to those GPUs that ChatGPT was created on? I like to say it's like a Lamborghini, but 4-year-old Lamborghini. It still goes fast, it's still a pretty good car, but you know, it's not the newest Lamborghini. So how can we give—
It goes from point A to point B.
Exactly. How can we give them access to those GPUs, and then immediately in those particular countries, and like to say it, emerging markets, emerging countries, they will have access to compute at scale. And that's what we're doing.
Andrew, I really like what you're doing because one, I'm watching the mainstream narrative on AI bubble, and their entire thesis of the naysayers is, well, they can spend all this money, but unlike the fiber, they go to the fiber example, which I think is a shitty example. They laid fiber down their internet, but the experience wasn't in demand. So yeah, dark fiber maintained, and then it came back. I think it's a flawed analogy to compare the build out of GPUs to fiber, because the reuse, which you're talking about, shows that no matter what the CapEx is, the architecture and use cases of reuse becomes a factor. Because you mentioned latency, you can actually take the old gear, GPUs, and configure them in a way that a DeepSeek-like software layer could take advantage of it. Exactly. So that kills the idea that the bubble will burst just on latest GPUs. Now, Jensen and NVIDIA wants to sell more GPUs, but you know, that'll go to the premium market. So you got a premium, and then you got kind of the tiered markets. What's your reaction to that? Do you agree? And what's your thoughts on that? Because I think this points to, I think what you're doing points to the fact that no one really cares. How much am I getting? Does it serve my purpose? What's the price?
Yeah, so we've seen people care a lot about the accessibility. Of course, number 2 is affordability, and then security layer. Security is probably one of the most important things. I think we're addressing all of it. About AI bubble, I cannot agree with that statement, as we are seeing since we launched Argentum AI.
You agree with it?
I do not.
Okay.
We received thousands and thousands of applications.
Oh, you agree with my statement, or the bubble will burst?
I don't agree the bubble will burst.
Okay,
I don't think there's a bubble yet.
Okay, I do too.
We've seen ridiculous amount of demand coming in right now from very sophisticated, also like enterprises globally. They're not maybe Googles of the world or OpenAIs of the world, but they are still businesses at scale, have strong balance sheets, and they just cannot get access to compute. And in many cases, we've seen also a lot of law firms. You know, we saw what happened with, unfortunately, with AWS, and we started seeing a lot of law firms trying to think about, okay, what else can I do? How can I maybe build my own data center? Maybe I can find somebody to partner up with. Maybe somebody else who has, I call it, you know, decentralized type of place, which is historically always more secured. So I don't agree with there's AI bubble. Of course, NVIDIA is absolutely incentivized to continue selling new GPUs, and that's where the issue comes in with second life GPUs. Again, we can talk about the electricity grid issues. We're predicting that there will be hundreds of thousands of GPUs that needs to get rotated. I call it second life GPUs, third life GPUs.
I like the second life GPU angle.
And again, even back to the latency issue, some companies like we're getting from Eastern Europe, or let's say India, or Middle East, they would love to get access to H100s today, and they just cannot.
Yeah.
And if we can get those second life GPUs, and again, at scale, distribute them, partner up with a lot of really good operators globally, everyone committing back to our marketplace, and people can just log into this marketplace, and they can make their own decision based on, maybe they care about stability, maybe they don't. Maybe they care about latency, but our job is to give them tons of capacity, affordably, accessibly.
It's like electricity. It's like electricity. So let me ask you this, because one of the things that's happening, obviously, we see the CapEx rush. The hyperscales and neoclouds, they're buying whatever they can. As soon as it comes off the line, they're buying it. But you mentioned getting a customer. They have big customers, the big customers. I mean, most of the neoclouds have like 6 customers.
Yeah.
You're talking about a whole nother level of customer base. So your customer profile isn't those big guys per se, it's who?
So again, our focus on that kind of mid-level enterprises, even though we started kind of focusing just on that, we received tons of demand from even hyperscalers that will basically would like to get any capacity they can get their hands on, because they have so much demand coming in because they're such a credible brands. So they would like to partner up with us. But our core focus, again, mid-level enterprises, but again, back to—
Your platform's agnostic.
Exactly, but now back to the neoclouds. The neoclouds, in many cases, again, they might be successful convincing, let's say, some professional services company to commit to a 3-year contract, right, on B200 GPUs. In some cases, we're seeing that those professional services companies using those GPUs only 6 months of the year. So you're dealing with a problem where a very credible large company with strong balance sheet committed to a 3-year contract, and they're using it only 6 months of the year. What are you going to do with it? So our job is I like to call it bringing liquidity into idle GPUs or retired GPUs on both sides. If we can help them monetize on those idle GPUs, even though it's committed to Microsoft or one of the hyperscalers and it sits in the Microsoft Azure system, if we can help them monetize on it,
it's kind of like
everyone wins.
It's kind of like bandwidth. Remember the old over-provision? We always have connectivity. Oh, you got a 1 gig, you got a 100 meg connection. Well, I'm sharing that with everybody else. Now that's over-provisioning, but what you're saying is that the CapEx provider, the CapEx spend, the usage is not there. You're taking advantage of that with your software. So that's like a classic, hey, it's idle or whatever your idle times. I'll take those. And by the way, the CapEx is forcing the neoclouds to actually have excess capacity that they've already kind of bought. So for them, why wouldn't I sign a contract with you?
Exactly.
Because I'm going to pay you because you're bringing me business. It's kind of like AWS. The more the EC2 runs, the more the bill goes up.
Exactly. But again, we're seeing right now is AWS, they did a phenomenal job kind of owning, I would like to call it the cloud economy, right? They had like 30-40% market share. But we do see that people are getting very, again, thoughtful around kind of allocating, and AWSs of the world controlling 40% of AI infrastructure economy. It's a pretty big risk for them. So we're seeing a lot of shift going towards some sort of decentralized solution, and that's kind of where we come in.
All right, so I'm sold on the market opportunity. It's great opportunity. I love it. Business model, how does it work? SLAs, take me through some of the business issues that you're dealing with. What's the consumption level look like? Is it easy to execute?
Yeah, so at the beginning, as I mentioned, on the supply side, we partner up with the most stable operators that think about neoclouds, but not on at scale yet. In our kind of average deal size, let's say we're focusing, let others focus on those $1 billion transactions or $200 million transactions or $20 billion transactions. We will sit somewhere in between. Let's say we'll do 10 million, 20, $50 million transactions. That's number one. Our business model is always, again, helping them monetize on their sitting idle GPUs, sort of create like a spot market. And then I think the most innovative thing that we're building, we build this called Living AI Benchmark. So think about whenever AI workload gets submitted, typically people are struggling understanding what kind of GPUs they need, for how long they need. Of course, people at scale, again, I don't want to keep mentioning hyperscalers, will convince them to sign very long contract for as many GPUs as possible. But our job is how can we be more efficient, bring efficiency, and within a second, whenever workload gets submitted, how can we price it and match it with the right GPUs for the right period of time and give customer that sort of right to make their own decision around this.
And so your secret sauce is that matching engine with the workload.
And the price up front.
And price.
The price up front, within a second. Think about you Uber app, you're using your Uber app, you know exactly where you're going.
Want a black car,
get the
comfort,
price, and
X,
you have 4 different options. We're doing the same. You have H100 option, you have H200 option, you have option with excellent latency, stability.
And I can see all the performance you're going to guarantee.
Exactly, and we're going to guarantee it.
All right, so take me through where you guys are at the company formation, stage, where are you? Obviously you're up and running. What's the progress? Give us some stats.
So we've been doing a lot of R&D at the beginning, trying to come up what can we deliver that is super unique and let's say enterprises are comfortable using. So at the beginning, I've been always very, very focused on how can I convince those enterprises? So my focus was security. Security was a big issue. So we picked this new security layer called Zero Knowledge and Staking-Based Trust. You know, Eric Schmidt from Google talks a lot about it, Ben Horowitz from Andreessen. There were a lot of conversations. So we picked the Zero Knowledge security layer on top of it, which is, let's say, on top of the current data center infrastructure, we're adding additional security layer, which is phenomenal. Then we were forming the team, and I've interviewed probably hundreds and hundreds of people and kind of trying to understand who really understands from zero knowledge, security layer, who has experience building this. So we hired approximately, I would say in April, May, we hired about 10 engineers full-time. Company was not even formed yet. Just to kind of dive in, figure this out, help us again with how the marketplace will operate. Officially, we launched the company in August. We kicked off our pre-seed round. We were oversubscribed in less than 24 hours. That was incredible. That was very interesting to me.
Yeah. Phone was blowing up.
Yeah.
But who'd you pick?
But bless people, we picked one of our core investors was a company called Banyan Ventures, Kraken Exchange, which is a very successful exchange. Yeah. And one of our partners became Victor Morgenstern. Victor was former chairman of Valor Equity Partners. Yeah. And Victor, one of the original investors, again, in Elon and all of Elon associated companies from SpaceX to Tesla and others. Yeah. Victor being great partner, Kraken Exchange.
So you have some strong people behind you.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so where you, what round are you in now? Are you raising money now?
So we are kicking off the next round. It's a 20 to 25 million round. We'll let market determine this. We're also in the middle of very large transactions with some very large companies right now. So on the one side, we already secured, I like to say, we went around the globe, secured over, let's say, 10,000 latest NVIDIA GPUs, an additional 10,000 of older version GPUs to the marketplace fully committed, an additional 150 megawatts plus of size of capacity committed to us under full exclusivity. We're in the middle of signing very, very large contract with very large, well-known company in the hyperscaler space. And again, after that, we predict, we'll
it's interesting. There's an old expression in Silicon Valley, build it, they will come. And it's been kind of a pejorative term, meaning, hey, any venture that has build it, they will come doesn't have any customers. But that doesn't work when you actually have a demand curve. So here, you built it first.
Build it
knowing
first.
They will come because you knew the market demand was there. At least in the segment you knew you could knock down, but now you've got the bigger guys coming in. So it's a win-win. So the term sheet's going to be oversubscribed again, I'm guaranteeing that.
Yep.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
What's next for the customer? Because the impact here is significant. I mean, just riffing out loud here, you're seeing a developer community with all the open source, even NVIDIA's going open. Look at Hugging Face leaderboards, massive. The Linux Foundation is getting more heavily involved. So all these developers are literally one click away from getting resource. So if they have a data moat, you don't have to have a CapEx investment. Yeah. I mean, that's to me the real key. What's your vision on what will happen next? Because my thing is, I would see this enabling huge access to compute.
Exactly.
For people who are innovating, who might not have big bank yet.
Exactly. So we already have a lot of partnerships that we've been announcing recently from entire kind of, let's say, quant community, researchers, universities. We just announced a big partnership with one of the major universities. We just partnered up with one scientific quant research lab in Europe. We just announced a partnership, I think was yesterday. Yeah. So that side, we're getting tremendous demand, again, of ours because of our security layer, because of us being fully decentralized and global player. That's how we're kind of creating this and giving people accessible and affordable compute. Of course, that makes sense. People don't really want to go to, again, to some of the largest companies, get on the wait list, number one, set on the wait list for potentially 6 months plus to get access to compute and then, of course, overpay. The way we build this, we're already offering, on average, 40% cheaper compute. And even in some cases for some of the latest, newest GPUs that are not currently available with some of the hyperscalers.
So on the risk, if I put my risk management hat on, I'd say, okay, Andrew, so, if you're going to pre-buy all this compute, you better have buyers. Is that risky for you, or is there an out clause, or how do you look at, because you're committing. You pre-buy, or you make a soft commitment?
So our big business model, and again, through my personal background, I'm a huge believer in asset-light marketplaces. Think about,
it's a win.
You basically, you assemble it, you add security layer, and you again help people, again, I call it bring liquidity to those illiquid assets. So our commitments mostly, we're going around and there's some new data centers that are getting built, some new GPU operators at scale that are already operating, and they are maybe getting additional allocation they did not expect from NVIDIA. So they need to quickly source a client for it. On our side, because we have such a strong demand on the customer base, that's kind of where we come in.
You're arbitraging.
We are transparent. It's on our website. We're taking, let's say, on average, somewhere around 10% fee, that our marketplace fee in between. And in some cases, for very strong contracts, we take that fee down significantly.
You know, I had a conversation with Bill Ty about this, because we were talking about energy options with GPUs. Kind of similar, you're smiling, because I can see where your head's thinking right now. Because if you think about it, the price is probably going to go up. So it's, in a way, it is a call.
Yeah.
So that's also a risk management upside for you, that your bet is there's still going to be demand.
Exactly.
So your only real focus on the risk side is to make sure that you're making the right calls on commitments, right?
We need to make sure that at the beginning of year one, we have tons of stable capacity available now. So if people want to come into us right now, they can get access to that. Look, we're in the middle already of some of the most important AI conversations today on the AI infrastructure side, where we have a very well-known company came to us and they wanted to source and start with 2,000 GPUs. And we were able to source through our marketplace, again, over 2,000 latest NVIDIA GPUs from B200s to B300s, which are available today on our marketplace. And again, go back to some larger companies, you will get in a huge wait list, you will have to wait, and we're being, again, that flexible partner. They're giving you flexible compute.
Well, I think one value that jumps out at me is the time. I mean, if you had to source this yourself, imagine like, I'm a tech guy, I'm like, hey, I need some GPUs. Procuring them, or even if I wanted to rent them, I'd have to go out and figure out each one. You're right there, simplify the process so it's faster time to value.
Exactly.
Instantly.
And we will let experts to deal with, again, we're not experts on building data centers, operating data centers. We'll let other experts do the job for us, and we'll focus on
your
the
asset light, they're the experts, you're providing two main benefits, availability and affordability.
Exactly.
All right, so put a plug in for what you're working on. If people are watching, if you're an investor, tell them John sent you, you get a 20% discount on the next round. He's like, no, I don't agree with that. Only kidding. What are you looking to do? Put a plug in, you're hiring, you got deals, obviously there's demand. What are you optimizing for? What's the focus?
So the focus right now, continue building an exceptional A team. We will be making an announcement in the next, I would say, probably a week or two. We will bring in very well-known executive from the well-known cloud space, or let's say call it neo cloud space. So it will be a major announcement, and again, the focus, continue focusing on building great technology, continue building our benchmark, and continue again focusing on consolidating demand and supply globally. So global expansion is exactly, it's on our map today. We already partnered up with some partners in UK, Brazil, Germany, and we're trying to expand again globally as fast as possible.
Do you have, where's the office here? Is it here in New York? Where's the location, headquarters?
So our core office is based in Chicago, and we have our second office in Los Angeles.
And any international yet? No international?
We have some developers that are
they're working.
Globally, they're working for the company, but we don't have office in
You don't have office, there's no.
I think our next spot will be UK. We receive tons of demand from the fintech side of clients in Northern London. For a million different reasons. So,
but no international operations other than employees, remote workers.
Exactly,
All right, so that's going to be more expansion. Well, Andrew, thanks for coming on theCUBE. Again, the AI factories is our focus. We've been covering the AI infrastructure leaders, the trailblazers, and again, the demand is high, and I think the developer angle is huge, because whether you're in an enterprise or starting a business, I mean, remember when I used Amazon for the first time in 2008, no one even never heard of it. I didn't want to buy a server, I just put my credit card down. Similar vibe here.
Exactly.
And you're just doing all that aggregation.
And number two, we like thinking deeply, how can we make those cross-border transactions seamless? So instead of waiting for people to again send in the wire transfers, we're trying to make sure, how can we have full verification of job was completed, completely verified within a second.
All right, well, good luck on the next round. I'm sure it's going to be oversubscribed again. Again, this is the part of the innovation we're seeing. Second life GPUs, the GPU entrepreneur, AI native software, whole new generation coming in. Thanks for coming in, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on theCUBE. All right, I'm John Furrier, your host of theCUBE here at our NYSE studio, where we're breaking down the leaders in AI and the innovators are making it happen as Wall Street and Silicon Valley connect, tech and money. That's what's happening, and it's happening in all sectors. See cryptocurrency, that's bounded by energy, and of course AI bounded by energy. Two hot areas where the infrastructure is under rebuild. It's disruptively enabling new things, and we're seeing it every day. It's one another great use case. We're doing our part to bring that to you. Thanks for watching.